That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. It's an early edition, 9 a.m. here on the West Coast, but we're bringing you power rankings as we do every week. We don't care that it's Thanksgiving week. In fact, we're probably more excited that it's Thanksgiving week. Joining me, as always, minus last week because he was out of town, Jimmy Ray from the NFL Stats Twitter account at NFL_stats. Jimmy, you went to the Colts game. You almost pulled out the victory over the Eagles. How are you feeling on an early Tuesday?
Feeling pretty good, man. It was a fun day regardless of the result. I expected it to be worse. Going into it, I was hoping our offense would show something, but it was kind of the same old stories. But we kept it close, so I wasn't too upset for three quarters.
How are you feeling about the Jeff Saturday era so far? You got a victory over the Raiders in their first game unexpectedly. No one gave them a chance, and you nearly knocked off one of the best teams in the NFL in week 2. Are we starting to think this could be a thing, or is this just like an interim coach bump here?
I wouldn't say that. No, I think it's kind of the same old story. I mean, we did beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, so it's not anything like the way the Colts work is they play pretty scrappy against good teams, and then they might win it at the end, they might blow it. It was nice to have a Raiders win and a close loss, but looking at the schedule for the rest of the season, playoffs are going to be tough, especially with that loss. So.
Well, at least you got that one win. Saturday can say he didn't go winless as a head.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a win for Saturday. I don't think anybody's looking at Saturday like, okay, this is a bad move. I mean, we'll see what happens. A lot of games left to be played.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump into it. That's what we do on this show. We are going to be doing the power rankings draft style as we always do. Jimmy and I will alternate taking turns picking from 32 to 1 and setting our Week 12 NFL Power Rankings. Our producer, Anthony Wayner, behind the scenes, setting up the timer. Jimmy, you ready to get this party started Thanksgiving week?
Let's do it.
Great. As soon as I see that timer, I'm going, Anthony. Let's see. Let's put it on the screen. Boom. All right, let's go ahead and bring up our lovely tier maker set here. I'm going to jump right into 32. We're not going to waste time on this because this is a team that is basically just barreling towards the first overall pick. That's the Houston Texans. I don't have anything to say about it. I'm fine going on to 31. Jimmy, unless you have anything to add here.
Yeah, they have a 2-game lead, I believe, for the first round pick, for the first overall pick. So that's exciting for them. But yeah, for my next pick, I have the Denver Broncos, a team that we thought would be in the top 10 at this point in the season, looking at a playoff spot. That doesn't seem to be the case. They just lost to the Raiders, who just lost to the Colts. The Raiders aren't good either at this point, another disappointing team. And now the Broncos, who would be 9-1 if they scored 18 points in each game in the regulation. Specifically, they're a bottom tier team on offense, which is the only reason they're down here. The defense is good.
I know we say this, and it's a broken record at this point, but how do you add Russell Wilson and you're 31st in the power rankings because your offense isn't getting it done? I don't want to spend any more time on the Broncos, only slightly more than I want to spend on the Texans. So let's keep it rolling. At number 30, how about the defending Super Bowl champions? Let's put the LA Rams at 30.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on with Matthew Stafford. He was in concussion protocol, even though he didn't seem to get a concussion. And then, so Wolford played the week before against the Cardinals. He started this game, but then he went out. But then they said he wasn't in concussion protocol. Now I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but this team is a mess top to bottom. They can't run the ball. Of course, they lost Cooper Kupp. Their defense wasn't able to slow down the Saints. And I don't have a lot of silver lining here. They don't even have draft picks. So Rams at 30, who saw that coming?
Yeah, no draft picks, no Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford in and out. And at the beginning of the season, we're like, hey, at least they have Matthew Stafford throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp. That's a bright side. And the defense just isn't making enough plays, and they've lost both those guys on offense. So they're barreling down. They could pull out some wins later in the season, but at this point, I don't think we can predict that at all. So
Yeah, I don't know how many games they're going to be favored in for the rest of the season, and that's crazy to say for a defending Super Bowl champion. All right, let's get number 29 from you, Jimmy.
all right, I have the Jaguars, Jacksonville Jaguars. They
Oh,
were on a
wow.
bye this
Punishing them
week.
on the bye. They lost bad to the
Right.
bye.
Yeah, they did lose bad to the bye, and they have the Ravens up next, so they could lose bad to them as well. But I didn't get to make my picks last week, but this is where I had them around this spot as well. So
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because we had them a little bit higher. Anthony
fair.
stood in and played the Jimmy role, but the team I'm going to put
Thank
up
you,
next
Anthony.
is I'm curious. I want to compare the Jags to the Panthers. Like I'm curious why you think the Carolina Panthers deserve to be a spot ahead. That's who I'm putting at 28.
yeah, the Panthers they don't have a good offense right now. I think if PJ Walker came in, they'd be a little better. I think their defense shows a little more upside than the Jaguars, which is mostly the reason I have them up here. But yeah, I just don't see a lot of fight in either team.
Yeah, I mean we're nitpicking here at the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
I'm trying to stir up some conversation just to keep these teams interesting, but they're not that interesting. So let's keep on rolling. This is a team. Oh, I'm sorry, you're at 27. I almost stole your pick. Who do you got at 27?
The Las Vegas Raiders, the team that just went on and beat the Broncos. I mean, they did beat the Broncos, but we have the Broncos low, and the Raiders are low as well.
That's two of their 3 wins. Actually, all 3
Right.
of their wins are against 31 and 32. I didn't realize that until just now.
It's beautiful. I mean, Devontae Adams is the upside here. He has 413 yards and 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games, so that's good. And he pulled it off in overtime for him. Waved him goodbye, and we'll see if they can continue that. If he can continue his good performance.
Yeah, that's we've said it before, but Josh McDaniels has to take a huge portion of the blame here for how this Raiders team, a 10-win Raider team that was in the playoffs a season ago and only added to their arsenal by getting Devontae Adams, adding Chandler Jones and Rocky Sin on defense, and here they are struggling to get wins against the Broncos and the Texans, not looking good. So number 26, this is a team that I have found one of the more exciting teams over the past few weeks. They have not resulted in wins, and if the injury report says anything, they could lose that exciting factor. That's the Bears. Justin Fields has a shoulder injury. The team said it was a dislocated shoulder. We're seeing Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, getting information from sources that it's actually not a dislocated shoulder. I don't know what's going on there. I have really enjoyed Fields from an entertainment standpoint and a fantasy standpoint, but the defense hasn't been good. I thought they could finally pull out a win against the Falcons, but Atlanta prevailed. Without Justin Fields, I could see this team plummeting here.
Yeah, they've scored 24 plus points in the last 5 games, but they just can't pull out wins in the last minute, and that's happens when you trade all your defensive players away and they start playing poorly. And then, but yeah, the bright side is Justin Fields is playing well. He makes some decisions that are weird at times, especially late in the game, but he's making explosive plays, and I think Bears fans are excited about that.
Matt Eberflus, head coach, said his shoulder injury is day to day, while also not ruling out the fact that it could be season ending. I don't know what that means, but the NFL as a whole is better with Justin Fields in. My fantasy team is better with Justin Fields in.
Yeah, right.
So hopefully he plays and the Bears at least give their fans something. They have that excitement on offense. You take that away, and man, it's going to be a depressing end to the season. Let's keep it rolling at number 25.
All right, I'll go ahead and put the Arizona Cardinals down here. They had a pretty bad loss against the 49ers on Monday night, just last night. 49ers were running all over them. Kyler Murray has missed the last couple of games. J.J. Watt's out for the year. The defense doesn't look like they can really stop many people at this point in the season. They could bounce back later on in the season, but I think they deserve to be down here.
Yeah, complete no-show in Mexico. Now, that could be a reflection of the Niners, who obviously we're going to be talking about much later because they'll be ranked much higher, and how well they played. But the Cardinals just looked listless against one of the better defenses in the NFL. I'll give them that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Cleveland Browns at 24. I had them at 26, so I had them a little bit lower. They showed a little bit of promise at the beginning of the game against the Bills, but I think that was the Bills kind of looking off. Once the Bills got their crap together, the Browns looked unmatched, and then the week before, actually getting trounced by the Dolphins. I had them below the Cardinals, but this is so nitpicky and around here. None of these teams are good. we haven't got to the good teams yet, but the Browns have, Nick Chubb, still a bright spot. Amari Cooper having a great year. Jacoby Brissett playing better than we thought he would. Donovan Peoples-Jones finally got in the end zone. He has been a bright spot on their offense, but their defense outside of Myles Garrett has been hugely disappointing. They can't do anything against top-tier offenses. We'll see how things change. I think, 2 more weeks when Deshaun Watson comes back at quarterback. Right. He's back at practice now.
Yep, and that'll be an interesting game against the Texans. For my next pick, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who feel like they're a somewhat similar team to the Browns at this point. They have a lot of young stars on offense. Najee Harris, their tight end Pat. I always have a problem pronouncing his last name. Freiermuth. He had some good play. Pickens had a touchdown and I believe like 90 yards or something like that. So they showed some prowess on the offensive side of the ball, but once again they let up a lot of points against the Bengals. The Bengals showed their offensive fire against them, and they're down here right now.
I think Pickens has scored in 3 straight weeks, which is coincided with Claypool's trade to the Bears. So once again, the Steelers knock it out of the park with the second-round wide receiver pick. They just have a knack for that. So I like the future. I also had the Steelers ahead of the Browns for that reason. I just think the arrow's up, whereas the arrow is not up at all with Cleveland. Number 22, they got a win this week, and they moved up, but they're still down here at the bottom. That's the New Orleans Saints. They got lucky in that they got to play the Rams. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Chris Olave has looked fantastic. Probably the best overall rookie wide receiver this year. I don't know if you have any different takes on that, but he's been dynamic since the start. He absolutely torched Jalen Ramsey on his touchdown, just completely got him off his route and just completely burned by him, and Ramsey couldn't catch up. So that's your silver lining there. I don't have anything else good to say about the Saints. Disappointing year in Dennis Allen's first year as head coach for New Orleans. Let's keep it rolling to 21.
Yeah, I think you guys had these guys a little higher. The Colts, my Colts, I think you might have had them a little higher last week. I still had them on the lower side.
They got a victory, Jeff Saturday.
They did get a victory against the Raiders, a close victory in that against the Raiders, and they did show some offensive movement again in that game. But this past game, their offensive movement, their opening drive, they scored a touchdown, first time since Christmas of 2021. So it's been quite some time since we scored a touchdown on the opening drive. And then after that, we got some field goals. We had a 1st and goal where we ended up getting a field goal as well. And our defense showed the defense was amazing for 3 quarters. And the Eagles offense was stalled for most of that. And then they came alive in the second half and in the 4th quarter and beat us. So it's just, I feel like the offense just can't do a lot right now. I know Jonathan Taylor had a good day against the Raiders, but he's
at least looking better. The offense has looked better in 2 weeks now against a very good Eagles defense this time. So you can't even say, the Raiders have the worst defense in the NFL. The offense looked better. To have the lead going into the 4th quarter against such a good Eagles team, that's something to hang your hat on. Jonathan Taylor's looked better. The offensive line is playing much better over the past 2 weeks. If that continues, I'd like to think at least the Colts can be competitive. I had them at 20, so we're kind of in alignment with where we have them. I had them above this next team, which is crazy to think, but I had the Packers at 21. I'm going to put them at 20 because that is how the draft works. I got fooled. I was 12-2 picking winners this week, Jimmy. I missed 2 games. The Bears, I thought they would pull it out against the Falcons. They didn't. They lost by 3. Covered the spread, but didn't win the game. But I thought the Packers were going to capitalize on that come-from-behind victory over the Cowboys and take it to the Titans at Lambeau Field on Thursday night, and I could not have been more wrong. That was a mirage. This Packers team is bad. 20 might be a little high for them.
Yeah, the bright spot has been Christian Watson. He has 5 touchdowns in the last couple of games, but that hasn't really shown to be successful in helping them win. They're lost 6 out of the last 7. I mean, that's just insane for an Aaron Rodgers-led team, regardless of who else was on the team. It shows that losing Devontae Adams has not helped. Honestly, both teams in that trade so far. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes rest of the season.
And the defense has been maybe the bigger disappointment. This was supposed to be a top 5 defense, and they have just looked bad. Jair Alexander didn't look good against the Titans. By no means strong wide receiver core. So not looking good for the Packers. Anthony, our Lions fan producer, is probably thrilled that we have the Packers where we have them. Let's go ahead and move on to number 19.
All right, so for my pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons coming off a close win against the Bears. I feel like they go back and forth every week on whether or not I think they're good. They have a win, they have a couple losses, they have a couple wins, they have a loss. Now Kyle Pitts is out for the year. Marcus Mariota, he gets another win when people are talking about Desmond Ridder coming in, which I think would probably be beneficial. I know they're 5-6. I just don't foresee this team making a big run at the end. And at the end of the day, I feel like you need to see what Desmond Ridder has. But when you're 5-6, you're like, hey, maybe we can get some wins pulled off. But I don't think they will do that.
Yeah, they're actually in contention. They're only one game out of first behind the Bucs. And I think they're 2 games out of a wild card spot after 11 weeks. So that's a consideration. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think we should be seeing Desmond Ridder. I said it last week after that dreadful performance by Mariota. But if they keep winning, they're going to do that. I don't think losing Kyle Pitts makes a huge difference. He hasn't had a huge impact.
Yeah, that's fair.
Probably more because of Mariota and earlier in the year, the game plan. But they're a run-first team with a scrappy but pretty bad defense. They're going to win some games. They're going to lose some games. They are coached well under Arthur Smith.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
A quick shout out to Cordarrelle Patterson, who did break the record for the most kickoff returns for a touchdown with 9. 7 of them have gone for over 100 yards, 7 100-yard touchdowns for him in his career. No other player has more than 3. So, I mean, I think he's set himself up to be considered the greatest kickoff return guy in NFL history.
I mean, when you set the record, you got to say it. And the season he's had as a running back the past 2 years has been fantastic. I have him in both of my dynasty leagues. I traded for him in both leagues last year. Very happy, even though he was injured earlier this year. All right, let's keep it rolling. I'm going to put Anthony's Detroit Lions here at 18. That's exactly where I had them in my ranking, just above the Falcons, so we're aligned there. 3 wins in a row, still on the outside looking in, but within striking distance of a wild card spot. I think they're 2.5 games out of the 7 seed now. The fact that the Lions have this much hope after 11 weeks, that speaks for itself. They're finding ways to win. They absolutely just beat down the Giants team that only had 2 losses going into this game. I predicted that the Lions would win that. They won by even more than I thought they would.
Yeah, the Lions are allowing the second most rushing yards per game this season, but they allowed only 22 yards to Saquon Barkley, which was the biggest thing in the win, I feel like. And then Aiden Hutchinson played really well. Jamal Williams he had 60 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, shout out. Good job, Anthony. They're coming back when they had a bad run in the middle of the season.
Their run defense has actually been good the last 3 weeks, whether that's motivation or Aiden Hutchinson had his best graded game of the year for PFF. I believe he had an 84 or 85. So they're peaking at the right time. Anthony, there's hope. The fact that you could say that going into week 12 for the Lions, I mean, that's all you could have asked for this year. And they have the Rams' first-round pick, so they can keep winning, and it doesn't hurt their prospects at getting a quarterback to upgrade from Goff. Gotta love it. All right, we will make halftime quick. Go to legitfootball.com. I'll say this every episode. If you haven't signed up for our free NFL newsletter, we get the top 6 stories to you, broken down, summarized to tell you only what you need to know, delivered straight to your inbox for free, 5 days a week, all year long. We summarize injuries as well. We're doing rookie highlights, letting you know the top news around the NFL. And follow me on TikTok. Legit Football on TikTok. We're putting out daily content on there now. And, of course, Twitter as well. Jimmy, as always, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, come follow NFL Stats on Twitter for however long Twitter lasts at this point. We'll see. There was a scare last week. I didn't go into that scare, but you never know with stuff like that. So I was a little worried on the inside. But go ahead and follow NFL Stats before Twitter goes under, so you can get some stats before there's nowhere else to go. Twitter's the only place apparently. So.
Although maybe we'll start putting, we used to put NFL stats from Jimmy in the newsletter. Maybe we'll do that if Twitter dies. But you know what? That 48 hours when everyone thought Twitter was going away, that was actually a pretty entertaining 48 hours. So you got to love the Twitter community.
Right.
All right, Anthony, let's jump into the second half. If you get that timer rolling. Number 17, Jimmy, let's just keep on going.
All right, so I have the Los Angeles Chargers coming off a close game against the Chiefs. But I feel like the Chargers always have a lot of close games against good teams. They do beat beat the teams they should beat, but I just feel like with their injuries right now, a lot of questions marks around this team, and they're a 5-5 team that I'm not sure which way they'll go. To be quite honest, I think they will get a few wins towards the end of the season, but I just don't know if they'll make the playoffs. And I think if they don't make the playoffs, it'll be a real disappointment once again for a Justin Herbert-led offense.
Yeah, they have really missed Joey Bosa on defense.
Yeah.
Not having that second pass rusher opposite Khalil Mack has really hurt them. They've had trouble stopping the run. And Mike Williams came back in and re-injured his ankle in the first quarter. They said it doesn't seem to be a serious re-injury, but just the fact that that's still an issue. High ankle sprains don't go away quickly. And then you have Keenan Allen finally playing significant snaps. He looked good, but he still didn't necessarily produce like he has in the past. How long is it going to take him to get ramped up? So yeah, definitely questions on the Chargers. They always played the Chiefs tough. They played the Chiefs tough earlier this season as well. But at the end of the day, they don't get the victory. I had them at 17. These last few picks, Jimmy, we are completely aligned. So yeah,
taking a week off, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All right, so number 16. I don't know if it's 4 of the last 5 or I think it's 5 of the last 6. Washington Commanders, Taylor Heineke. Ron Rivera made the smart decision by naming Heineke the quarterback for the rest of the year and said that Wentz will back him up when he does return from injury. The defense is playing a lot better. They always had a good pass rush, but the secondary is playing better. They're doing better against the run. They did get to play the Texans this week, but hey, they beat them down. You only played the team that's on your schedule. I like this Washington team. Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. I like that timeshare. It's just a fun team. That's all we can ask for these middling teams. And guess what? Washington is the first team out of the wild card. They are one game out they're in the 8th seed right now, if you will. So they keep playing like this. That NFC East. Wow. That's the first NFC East team we put at 16.
Yeah, and if they make the wild card spot somehow, I don't know if that'll happen since they all have to play each other quite a bit. But if a team of 4 or division of 4 all makes the playoffs, that'd be something to behold and watch. So yeah, I had them at this same exact spot as well. So we'll just see how we can do. So for my next pick, I have the New England Patriots.
Okay,
is that where you had them too? Oh, dang it. Okay, we tried.
No.
All right.
So you have them below the team they just beat. I had the team they beat there.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't bring the Jets down as much because I felt like it was a back and forth game. I don't think any team really showed me like, hey, they're better than one another. I think if they played again, God knows only what would happen. But I think it made sense for this kind of game to end on a punt after so many punts happened during the game, and after the offense just couldn't get the first downs they needed on both sides of the ball. But the Patriots won it on a punt return for a touchdown. They couldn't get a lot going on the offensive side of the ball. The defense did stop the Jets and Zach Wilson, and that team as a whole is also struggling. So it was a struggle bus I felt for both teams.
Here's why I put the Patriots above the Jets. So I'll go ahead and put a 14 so we can kind of talk about the two of them together.
Okay, so they were both right there.
Yeah, I had them right there. Besides, these are two actually top 5 defenses, almost quietly top 5 defenses with very, very questionable offenses.
Yeah.
However, I still trust Mac Wilson and the Patriots offense slightly more than I trust Zach Wilson. Forget the rest of the Jets offense. Zach Wilson, however, it looks like we might see a QB change. They played the Bears this week.
Mm-hmm.
Could we be seeing Mike White or even Joe Flacco? I think that's a boost. It can't get much worse on the offensive side of the ball. Losing Breece Hall was a huge loss. But if Zach Wilson's the quarterback against the Patriots, they've lost to New England twice now. I felt that New England should be ahead. But we'll probably get a little bit of crap for that. That's all right. Let's keep it rolling with number 13. That's you.
Yep. Okay. Yeah,
that's your
me.
cue.
All right. Yep. That's my cue. All right. So I have a team who was on a bye this week, the Seattle Seahawks. They have their next game comes against the Raiders. So we'll see what they can do. They're 6-4 right now. They've kind of been on a downhill spiral from what they were in previous weeks. So I feel like this spot is good for them.
Not too much to say since they didn't play this week. Such a feel-good story. They lost first place in the NFC West because the 49ers won. They're tied, but 49ers have the head-to-head. 49ers are also 4-0 in the NFC West. So let's keep on rolling. I'll go ahead and put the New York Football Giants. There we go. I just got pounded. I mean, this is a team that we've felt all year was playing above their talent level. Great coaching. Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year candidate. but I think it finally caught up to them with the red-hot Lions team where they couldn't do the one thing they've been able to do on offense to help them score points, and that's run the ball. Like you said, Saquon had, 21 yards or something like that against this Lions defense, and you take that away, the Giants don't have much else to hang on. So Detroit absolutely controlled this game pretty much from start to finish. Giants fans, you still have a great record. You'll probably still make the playoffs because you had such a hot start, but you're outside of the top 10 now.
Right. Hopefully they can pull off a few wins, or it'll be a very disappointing season if they start losing a lot of games. Wan'Dale
If they
Robinson
don't make the playoffs at this point, that's
yeah. I mean,
Wan'Dale Robinson. Go ahead. You're mentioning lost for the season.
Yeah, he's lost for the season. He had 100 yards, so he had a bright side looking. He had a bright spot for the game and looking ahead for the season, but he did get injured and it'll miss him. So the wide receiver core gets another blow. Kenny Golladay did get a catch.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is. But yeah, before the season, if they end up losing a few more games before the season, you'd be like, yeah, sure. But if they don't make the playoffs at this point, it would be pretty disappointing.
Yep, agreed. Let's keep it rolling at 11.
Right at 11, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Same.
who previous week they were on a bye, but the week before that they did have a solid win against the Seahawks in Germany. Tom Brady showed
and a win against the Rams the week before, so they're on a 2-game winning streak.
Right, so they're on a 2-game win streak. So they'll be up here if their next game is against the Browns. I feel like they can beat the Browns, but I wouldn't necessarily put too many points on them. I bet the spread's like probably 4 or 5.5 if I had to guess for the Bucs.
Yep, I agree. Bye, so we won't spend any more time on them. We got 8 minutes left to finish these top 10. Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
They're a good football team. I'm just going to say it. It's no longer, their schedule or, they're eking out wins as they always are under Mike Vrabel. This is a good football team, and that was one of the other big mistakes. Besides buying into Green Bay on Thursday and the narrative and Rodgers is back, I didn't give the Titans enough credit. The Titans dominated in every aspect, even the pass. Like, Tannehill went over 300 yards. They looked good passing the ball. It wasn't Derrick Henry was actually under 100 yards rushing. It didn't matter. The Titans absolutely dominated the Packers. This is a good football team. They're going to run away with the AFC South, and we'll see if they can make splash in the playoffs. That's been their Achilles heel. They haven't been able to go deep. But right now, they deserve to be at 10.
Yeah, won 7 of the last 8. One loss coming against the one of the top teams in the NFL, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Treylon Burks played really, really well. If you looked at just the score itself, you'd be like, oh, Derrick Henry balled out. But it was Ryan Tannehill, Treylon Burks. Obviously, Derrick Henry helps control the game for the team, especially
Austin
when you
Hooper
have a lead.
had 2 touchdowns. Westbrook Akine still making plays.
So, yeah, nobody's sleeping on the Titans at this point. I think they'll be in the playoffs, and we'll see if they can win. I'm sure they'll have a home playoff game with their division slacking. So, excited to see what they do in the playoffs this year.
And they've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. They lost Taylor Lewan for the year. Defense, I feel like they lost 6 or 7 starters at one point. It doesn't matter. This is almost like the Patriots, and Vrabel kind of comes from that background, is that this is just such a well-coached team. It's like next man up. You lose a guy, doesn't matter. This defense is playing exceptional. If they can be balanced on offense too, watch out. Tennessee could make some noise. Let's go to number 9, Jimmy.
Number 9, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. I kind of went back and forth on some of these teams or just a couple teams that are in the same division.
I had them at 9. We are aligned.
Okay, again. Perfect. So I assume you know who I'm talking about with the other team, the Ravens, but we'll see where we have the Ravens at this point. But for the Bengals, their offense is rolling. Their defense let up a lot of points against the Steelers, but their offense without Jamar Chase, somebody on the offense will always find a way to make plays. T. Higgins had a decent day. Samaje Perine was the first running back in their franchise to have 3 receiving touchdowns. So that was very surprising. I have it on my bench in a league, obviously, because why would I start Samaje Perine? But
right
when you have
I had him in best ball.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of best ball.
Nice.
Yes. He the 1 week he produces, he gets into my starting lineup. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I had the Bengals at 9.
Nice.
They could be an AFC contender if they play at their best, and they seem to be heating up at the right time. And Jamar Chase is back practicing. It's like they're playing this well, and they don't even have Chase. Watch out for Cincinnati yet again this year. I'm glad that I'm picking 8 because I get to put this team here. This is a team. I don't know how you would have done the top of the power rankings last week. Did you do a personal rankings, Jimmy? Who did you have at 1?
I did, because I felt like if I didn't do a rankings, I'd be very confused on doing 2 weeks at once. Just so I did that whenever I had the chance after you guys. I did. So I
Who'd
don't
you
know
have
where
at
you're
1?
going, but
Who'd you have at number 1?
let me see. So I had number 1. I had the Chiefs. I had the Chiefs at number 1.
So you didn't put the Vikings at 1. I did.
No, I didn't. Yeah,
I put the
I've been
Vikings
always
at
low.
1.
Yeah.
I've been lower on them too. I keep predicting them to lose, but I just felt like they had earned it. You beat the Bills. You're 8-1. You earned a right to be number 1. But I predicted them to lose. I didn't know they were going to lose by 37. I'm dropping the Vikings all the way down to number 8. I don't want to hear about it on Twitter. I actually don't think I'll hear about it on Twitter because your team loses by 37 points. And by the way, their 2 losses, they got trounced. They got beat bad on Monday Night Football week 2 against the Eagles, and then they just had an absolutely embarrassing loss. Justin Jefferson had 2 catches against Trayvon Diggs. So I'm glad I'm the one, after putting them number 1 last week, and I got some flack for that, to be able to put them at number 8 and do it proudly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I did give them a little bit of leeway. I got them at 6, but
I did it first. And I kept bumping them down.
Yeah, because
these other teams that we're going to talk about for the top 7, I couldn't put the Vikings ahead of any of these other teams.
Fair.
The Bengals were the one team because they had 4 losses. I'm like, okay, I can't drop the Vikings any more than this. But yeah, at number 8, put my stamp on it.
Yeah, the craziest thing in the world. They're 8-2. They have a -2 point differential because of 2 big losses against the Eagles and the Cowboys. -2 point differential. That's insane.
David Marazzo said he had the Vikings winning that game. Yikes. I picked the Cowboys to win and cover, but like I said, I could not have predicted that they would lose by 37. Absolutely astounding. All right, Jimmy, let's keep on rolling. Who do you got at 7?
I had the Baltimore Ravens, who had a very interesting game against the Panthers. Both teams, it was 3-3 for a while. I had a friend. I was at the Eagles game. I had a friend who's also a Ravens fan who was keeping tabs on it. I was like, hey, what's the score now? Like 3-3. I was like, hey, third quarter, what's the score now? 3-3. I was like, what's happening with the Ravens? So at that point, I mean, they did pull off. So the defense played well against a bad offense. They had a late turnover late in the game that helped them pull out the win, which is always huge. Any team you play, obviously, with the Vikings losing by 40-3, you always just want to pull out a win and move on to the next game. So, it's like the opposite of what the Ravens games have been in the past with their fourth quarters. They weren't doing well in fourth quarters, and this was the only quarter that the offense showed up. So,
and yes, it's playing the Panthers, but they still found a way to win. I think this is 4 or 5 straight wins for the Ravens. We have to keep that in mind. I had them at 5 just because they continue to win. I love the addition of Roquan Smith that plugged up a big weakness in their defense, helping with the run. And their offense just wasn't quite in sync. But Demarcus Robinson had 100 yards. There's the silver lining for you. Gus Edwards should be back next week helping the run game. Number 6, San Francisco 49ers. If they didn't lose those games earlier in the season, and I know that was before they had got Christian McCaffrey, I would probably put them up higher. They are playing some of the best football in the entire NFL right now. They got everybody involved last night. Kittle had 2 touchdowns. Ayuk had 2 touchdowns. Debo had a touchdown. CMC still looked good. Elijah Mitchell looked good coming in and closing that game up. Jimmy Garoppolo, one of the best games maybe I've ever seen him play. You can say that it's the preparation. They practiced in Colorado to prepare for the altitude on top of the Cardinals just looking bad. But this 49ers team, they were basically perfect last night. If they continue to play that way, they could have Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, I mean Jimmy G had one of the best games in his career. I feel like at least this season for sure. I don't think anybody would deny that. And I think when you add Christian McCaffrey to that offense, I think it's just hard to game plan against every team. Even before they added Christian McCaffrey, it was hard to game plan against everybody. And now that a team like the 49ers, who's always been good at rushing, now has Christian McCaffrey who can run out of the backfield and catch balls out of the backfield as well. I mean, it's a dynamic team, and I do think we'll be seeing a lot of them this season, and I'm excited to see where they go from here.
David Marazzo again in the chat. Viva la Mexico.
Viva la Mexico.
Yes, way to go down there and take advantage of that international spotlight and absolutely pound on a division rival. We are almost out of time, but This is Thanksgiving week. We've got 5 left. We always tend to rush the top. So, Anthony, I'm going to ask for 5 minutes of overtime. I want to take 5 minutes to really give each of these teams at least a minute of time to actually give them their due. We've had shuffles at the top, right? Because we had the Vikings, the Bills, the Eagles. So I want to make sure to give these top 5 their due. Let's just start talking while Anthony sets up the extra 5 minutes. Let's get to number 5, Jimmy.
I have your team in the Miami Dolphins at number 5.
Boo. Boo. I had them higher.
Boo.
All right. Tell us why.
They had a bye this week. It's more so of the fact that I think all the other teams have been playing really well. I think there might be one team that you have a little lower because of their recent downhill spiral and question marks around the team. But I think all the teams above them are better. I think the Miami Dolphins are
one of those teams they beat.
On offense.
Just saying
right.
that. One of those teams they beat.
A lot of teams beat a lot of teams throughout the NFL season through 11 weeks. So I don't really look at that.
Give me this. Fine. Top 5. I won't argue. No. I think we had them at 4 last week, so they're going to go down on a bye. Fine.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I thought about it, the Dolphins or the Cowboys or one of those teams. But I just think the Cowboys dominated a lot and showed a lot of good play against the Vikings, and I think their offense is rolling. But I do think the Dolphins have a great offensive mindset, and their defense is improving. And I think the top 5 teams could go any which way throughout the season. So
their defense played one of their better games against the Browns last week. But hey, It's a victim of being on the bye. I had them above the Cowboys, but that's how the draft works. So I'm going to go ahead and put Dallas in their most complete game of the year, absolutely trouncing the team that we had number 1 in our power rankings last week, the Minnesota Vikings. Tony Pollard is the real deal, even with Zeke back in. And Zeke had like 16, 17 touches. Didn't matter. Tony Pollard is an absolute game changer. Caught 2 touchdowns, had over 100 yards receiving in this game, had almost 200 total yards of offense. He is fantastic. He can run between the tackles. He can obviously catch out of the backfield. He can catch as a receiver lined up. And their defense, Micah Parsons playing as well as any defensive defender in the NFL. Trayvon Diggs shutting down Justin Jefferson. There's a lot to like about this Cowboys team. Peaking at the right time. Dak looked fantastic. They keep this up. We could be looking at a Dallas-San Francisco NFC Championship game. Let's keep it rolling at 3.
And I would love to see the Cowboys and Dolphins play each other. I think I wouldn't know who to favor in that game. So I think I'd lean the Cowboys, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins dominated them as well. So it was back and forth for me. For my next pick, I have the Buffalo Bills. They had a good second half win. They scored on all 5 possessions in the second half after starting off the first half kind of slow, especially against the Browns team. I believe it was 13-10 at the half. But the biggest thing here I felt like was 86 rushing yards from both James Cook and Devin Singletary. I feel like it's always good to see that team show that they can run the ball when they need to, especially with Josh Allen. The past couple of games haven't been his best games, but I do think just getting that out of the way, I think their best ball is only ahead of them. So I'm excited to see. Yeah.
This is one of the games I had highlighted. So as I mentioned, I watch all the games in some capacity, but certain games I focus more on. This was one of the games I focused on. And Josh Allen just looked off in the first half. He was missing passes.
Right.
He didn't quite look like himself, and that resulted in 13-10 at halftime. But he looked more like himself in the second half. So the second half Bills, if they keep playing like we know they're capable of, I mean, they probably are still the best top to bottom roster in the NFL. I had them at 4 because I did have them below Miami. Miami's hotter, and Miami beat them earlier in the year, but can't argue with the Bills at 3. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. We had them at number 1 for so long, and that was mainly because they were undefeated, but they're a fantastic team. They still find ways to win. A little bit disappointed the way they played against Indianapolis, but hey, credit the Colts for that. They're playing much better under Jeff Saturday the last 2 weeks. But I think it's clear who we have at number 1, so I think we can kind of talk about, you make the pick, and then we'll talk about these 2 top teams together.
Yeah, Kansas City Chiefs at number 1. I had them number 1 last week, number 1 this week. They've probably been in the top 3 in power rankings for the past few seasons now. They've just been dominated, and when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Travis Kelce catching the ball, the imagination is endless with that team. So
I put in one of my fantasy dynasty chats that they're just a cheat code at this point. Like
right.
it feels like at any time they're like, oh, we're losing. Okay, let's just make sure we get the ball to Travis Kelce, and he'll score, and then we'll come back. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. The Eagles, they had a weakness on run defense. What do? They signed Ndamukong Suh. They signed Linval Joseph. They're doing everything they can. Clearly, they believe they're Super Bowl bound. So a little bit of nitpicky, but nobody can top the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
Their defense is making plays when they need to. I still think the Eagles are a little bit more well-rounded, but their Chiefs are just so good on offense. They're just so good that it seems like even if they win against the top defense, they would find ways to win. They deserve to be at 1. All right, let's do a quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple stats. The Eagles had the biggest fourth quarter comeback since the Miracle at the Meadowlands, and then Travis Kelce has 11 touchdowns this season, which is tied for his career high. So,
wow, already through 11 weeks. Cheat code, I'm telling you.
Yep.
All right, let's quickly recap from 32-1 for those listening at home or in your car. I don't know. I guess maybe you're not at home. 32, Houston Texans. They are, sprinting towards the number 1 overall pick and their quarterback of their future. 31, Denver Broncos. 30, Super Bowl champ LA Rams. 29, Jags. 28, Panthers. 27, Raiders. 26, Bears. 25, Cardinals. 24, Browns. 23, Steelers. 22, Saints. 21, Colts. 20, Green Bay Packers. 19, Atlanta Falcons. 18, Anthony's Lions. 17, Chargers. 16, Washington Commanders. 15, Patriots. 14, Jets. 13, Seahawks. 12, Giants. 11, Bucks. 10, Titans. 9, Bengals. 8, formerly number 1, Minnesota Vikings. 7, Baltimore Ravens. 6, San Francisco 49ers. 5, my Miami Dolphins. Boo. 4, Dallas Cowboys. 3, Buffalo Bills. 2, Philadelphia Eagles. And 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Last thoughts on our power rankings before we go into the 3 Thanksgiving games and towards Week 12.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, I don't remember who plays on Thanksgiving, but I feel like we had a pretty good power rankings. We were on and off with some of our picks. We agreed with some, we disagreed with some, which tends to happen with those. But with a week off, it's exciting to see we're still on the same page somewhat, at least.
Yeah, a little bit of a tease. I am putting together a Thanksgiving preview show tomorrow. We don't know what time it's going to go live or anything like that, but trying to put together a show where I want to go a little bit deeper for these 3 games. We don't tend to. We have the game pick show where we just kind of quickly touch on them. So I want to go a little deeper, kind of a Thanksgiving special, because we won't have a Thursday show because Thursday is Thanksgiving. So keep a lookout for that. Jimmy, thank you as always for joining. Make sure to check out at NFL_stats on Twitter. Anthony, as always, thank you behind the scenes, producing the show, running the timer. Hopefully your Lions can keep it going, although I'm pretty sure they played the Bills on Thanksgiving, so that might end, but it's been a great run so far. Thanks, everybody who was watching and those just listening. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you tomorrow. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.